Welcome back to Patman Garage. Up in the attic today, we're going to build some modular attic shelves that are, or attic decking, I should say, that are going to be somewhat removable if needed for serviceability down the road. So we're going to jump right into this here. All right, so I've got 8-foot 2x4s. I have my deck board already cut into 2-foot lengths. So it's a 4x8 sheet of plywood that's cut 3 times into a total of 4 panels. And then the area we're going to work on over here, I'm going to have to first start by moving a bunch of the insulation out of the way so we can access the rafters. And then we'll be putting down the 2x4s and also have a collection of 2-foot long 2x4s that will also be attached. So I'll show you the game plan once we get all this cleared out of the way. So for that, I brought a cardboard box up here, and we're going to just shovel off a bunch of it into the cardboard box, and then that way we can put it back down as much as we can once we're to that point. Excuse me. So the game plan is going to be 4 feet this way and 8 feet this way, and we're going to make some decking up here for additional storage. Well, I basically filled up one box, so I had to go get some more boxes. But we're going to keep swimming and digging in insulation, get it out of the way, and here in a minute we'll get to a starting point. All right, so I've got 3 pretty full boxes now. I got a pretty good area carved out of where I'm going to work. So I'm going to start with laying down my framework of what I want to put down, and then I can start explaining the kind of my method here. So just kind of wanted to show you the general area again before we start laying out the framework. All right, so I got all the joist unburied and cleared off. So I think that's about enough space for what we're looking for here. And we'll get the 2x4s laid out. So we'll pay special attention to the wiring here. Make sure we're not trapping any wiring, which is part of why I want to make this a serviceable, removable panel in case I need to do something with this light in the future. So, like I said, that's the game plan. We'll get into this a little bit more here in just a second. For starters, we need to relocate or add some extra slack into this electrical wire so we don't end up trapping it here. So I'm going to pull the staple out of here, and that'll allow us to have a little bit more slack in that line, so we're not making a sort of right triangle. So we'll get to pop that off real quick. All right, I got my first board screwed down. It's 2x4. I'm using a number 10 3-inch long Phillips screw to go through the 2x4 into the joist, and we're going to lay a couple more across. We're going to avoid our light here in the middle, and again avoid wiring as we go. I ended up pulling this guy out of the staple up against the light because I felt like this staple was actually purposeful to keep the wiring out of that light so it doesn't get too hot. So we added enough slack in this thing where we can route the harness out of harm's way there. And like I said, we're going to keep going, and then I'll show you my game plan going forward after we get the rest of those put in. All right, so because I'm using a number 10 screw, I am drilling a pilot hole. I will stick the drill bit size over the top of the overlaid on the video here, but that's a pretty large diameter screw. I don't want to split the wood. So I got all my planks in here, and then we'll add some additional bracing, and then we'll be ready to build the modular deck panels. All right, so I got my vertical braces put in that I wanted to do. I might add one more across here. I was kind of cramped on space more than I had anticipated, but Basically, the idea with the vertical is that's going to keep our panels locked in place so they don't slide. So this one is inboard or further away from me in relation to the first plank we put down, and then the last one is vertical closer to me. So then the planks can kind of make a C shape like this once we go and build those, or the decking can kind of make a C shape there. And then we'll put some additional panels down that we will attach to the deck panels themselves. So it'll be kind of modular, like a little Lego set, but that's kind of the intention there. And then that's what the intention of the 2-foot pieces are. And this will make a little more sense once we get this finished up here. All right, so check this out. This is finally, my vision is coming to fruition here. So I'm gonna have these 2x4s attached to the bottom of the deck. Now there is gonna be a little bit of a gap here that I did not account for, but we can always add some shims or something there. But basically, you can see the concept here. Obviously these will be trued up together, but basically that panel will be held in place by our 2x4 walls, and won't allow it to slide in and out this direction. And we can just put a single screw down into the top of this 2x4 to keep the panel from sliding left to right. And yeah, that should be it. Then in the event we need to do some servicing on the wiring or the light, pop a single screw out and the whole panel comes right off. So we'll get the first one built, and we'll see how much bowing, or if we want to add any shimming or not, and we'll go from there. All right, well, I got the first one built out, as you can see. And there is a little bit of bowing in the middle with my weight on it. Of course, I'm about 240 pounds, so more weight than I'm going to have up there on that board. I may end up putting a small piece of shim on those center two boards, depending on how that ends up doing. But it feels stable walking around on it. It's just right there in the middle where I don't have room for another brace. We ended up with just a little bit of bowing there. Probably if I didn't have this center spine and the light to work around, and I could have put another 2x4 in there, it would have been just fine, I think, because the weight would have just gone from the plywood into the vertical spine. So yeah, not perfect ideal, but I don't think we're by any means dangerous or unsafe or anything along those natures. I did want to point out the vertical board. So let's start over here. On the horizontal boards, I staggered my screws. So that's kind of the left justified, and this is kind of right justified, and then left justified. And so those are going to be split. That way we're less likely to create a stress point through the wood itself. And then on the vertical side, I also staggered my screws. Every other one is so this one is cross grain into the 2x4 plank, and then this one is toenailed down into the joist, and so on and so forth. So staggered my my hardware there, and that just adds more twisting strength to, or resistance to twisting on that vertical spine, so that way it doesn't come out. Anyways, I got a couple more panels to build, and then we'll get stuff loaded up. All right, so I got all 4 panels built, and have not actually attached them down yet. I'm actually going to pull them apart so I can relay my insulation in the middle, and then we'll finally square them all up once I get the insulation put back down, and then I'll build my outside wall of insulation around the back as best I can. And we'll be done up here for now. All right, well, got all 4 panels down. They actually felt pretty solid after I put more insulation underneath them. So I don't think I'm going to add a screw to even hold them down. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. I may still end up revisiting adding a shim later. We'll see. But for now, we're done up here. So we can get the finally get the cabinet and the shelves loaded up with all the Christmas storage, and that'll free up the top of my stairs up here. So I'll be in much better shape now. So this is essentially where my gap is coming from. So you can see the height difference here between a vertical 2x4 and our horizontal 2x4s. So I need to figure out what this difference is to basically measure out and make a shim that's that height. So I've got one of the extra 2-foot boards set up in the vise, and I'm just going to rip a 3/8 of an inch strip off of it, and we'll just cut a couple strips using the skill saw, and we'll make our shims out of our extra piece of wood so we don't have to go buy something else. Alright, so I got 8, they're approximately 3/8 of an inch thick strips that are cut out. Doesn't have to be perfect for this job. So what we'll do is pull the panels back up. We'll shim that middle 2 area where I had the most bowing, since we didn't have a vertical board in there. And we're just going to glue them down. There are approximately 20 inches long, which was the remainder of that piece that was left over from cutting that 2x4 that was in the vise. But we're going to end up where we don't have full coverage, which is totally fine, which will give us room for our screws that are going down into those into the joist. All right, so we got the first panel pulled up, and as you can see, we'll have to dig out a little bit where our insulation was on our boards, and we're just going to glue our strips down and then be ready to reinstall the panel right back on top of it. All right, and there's the first 2 glued down. Don't really have to worry about the glue drying or curing right now. I'm just going to slap the panel back on top of it, and it should be fine. It's not really going to go anywhere as long as I'm not sliding around on it. So, well, I am whooped. This turned out to be a pretty good little project and took a little longer than I expected it to take, but still a good day, and was lucky enough to be able to do this before it gets too hot. So definitely something to consider when we're in Texas and battling heat. So I appreciate you checking out another video of mine, and I will catch you in the next one.